tonight.
It's beyond tragic is the best way of putting it.
An unimaginable tragedy for a family and a small community after 5 people fall through the ice near Humboldt and 3 drown. And a rare sight in politics, provincial leaders find common ground on the carbon tax. Plus, franchisees are breathing fire after their investment in a pizza venture fell flat.
I actually feel that this business dropped me back 5 years of my life.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It's Monday, November 6th. CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Natasha Lipney in for Sam McCaig this evening. We begin in Humboldt, where a family is dealing with unimaginable grief after 2 men and a girl fell through ice and drowned. 2 others were pulled from the water alive. Pratush Dayal reports.
The ice is just starting to form on Humboldt Lake. Emergency crews rushed to this lake early Saturday afternoon after receiving a report that a number of people had fallen through the ice into the lake. RCMP says witnesses reported seeing 5 people in the water. In the end, 2 men and a young girl died. An underwater recovery team had to be called in to recover the bodies of the men. A woman and a girl were rescued and rushed to hospital. The mayor of Humboldt says the news is rippling through the city.
The young girl is part of the family of Humboldt, and they're all roots from around this area, if not directly in Humboldt, and it hurts when we're a small community of 6,000 people. The loss of 1 life is tragic, but the loss of 3 is extremely tragic.
Michael Behill says the woman and the child have since been discharged from hospital.
It's tragic when you lose 1 family member, but when you lose multiple at the same time, it's really going to be a hard time for those people to adjust and accept.
The mayor won't speculate on how the family ended up in the water, but he believes the adults were trying to save the children after they broke through the ice.
We've only had 2 weeks of cold weather, so we don't have enough ice thickness to safely be on the ice. We want the ice to be at least 4 inches or 10 centimeters here in Canada to be safe on, and that's just for walking.
Please obey the water safety rules, watch for the posted signs, and don't venture out on that ice if you don't think it's safe. If you're not sure, don't go. It's better to err on the side of caution than to have a tragic event happen.
The mayor says this area hasn't seen an incident like this in decades. RCMP declined to be interviewed as the case is now being investigated by the Saskatchewan Coroner Service. Pratish Dayal, CBC News, Humboldt Lake.
Saskatchewan's premier is leading the charge to get a carbon tax exemption on all home heating, and he found plenty of support at the premier's meeting in Halifax. Ashley Burke has more on their unanimous call for action and a vote on the issue in the House of Commons.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Conservatives leader wants to axe the carbon tax on all forms of home heating.
Will the members for Thunder Bay be given a free vote on our motion to take the tax off and keep the heat on?
Veuillez bien se lever.
Today, he put it to a vote. In a rare move, the government's key partner, the NDP, gave its support.
I'm always very uncomfortable in any moment where I'm seen in any way voting alongside the Conservatives.
The NDP's leader says the Conservatives don't have a climate plan, but he had to reject the Liberals' approach.
With our ministers.
More than a week ago, the Prime Minister announced an exemption on home heating oil from the carbon tax for 3 years, a move that will help many in Atlantic Canada, where the Liberals are flailing in the polls.
It was really divisive to say one region gets help because they voted Liberals and other regions don't because they didn't vote Liberal. I mean, we've got to reject that.
The Bloc Québécois didn't reject that, and the vote didn't pass.
Justin Trudeau has set us up for the carbon tax election.
More pressure at a time when premiers are speaking out too.
If they're going to give the Atlantic provinces a break, they need to give everyone a break across the country.
During a meeting in Halifax, premiers said they were united in calling for the federal carbon tax to be fair.
The carbon tax is not a silver bullet. when it comes to climate change.
All this is doing is just causing unfairness.
Extend this carbon tax pause to home heating oil, but also extend it to other forms of electricity.
The government insists it's not picking favorites.
I don't share that view that we're playing unfairly in terms of regional representation.
The Prime Minister has said no to any more carve-outs, but tomorrow senators are voting on a critical private member's bill. It proposes exempting farmers from the carbon tax to dry their grain. If the Senate votes in favor, it would then go to the House for approval. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
A Quebec man is going to prison after pleading guilty to 2 shootings in Saskatoon. You may remember Muhaddin Ahmed Farah from a brazen daylight robbery at a jewelry store in downtown Saskatoon in 2014. He received a 4-year sentence for that crime. Today, he pleaded guilty to a daylight shooting in front of a Saskatoon elementary school in 2021. No one was injured, but the school had to go into lockdown. The second shooting happened during a drug deal last summer. Ahmed Farah shot someone 5 times, and they survived. The judge accepted a joint submission for a total prison sentence of 14 years. The official opposition is calling on the Saskatchewan government to investigate allegations of racist and discriminatory leadership at the Regina General Hospital. CTV News first reported that 10 foreign trade doctors at the hospital filed a human rights complaint earlier this month. According to CTV, the doctors are from Africa or East Asia. They say the hospital is giving the most sought-after shifts almost entirely to their white colleagues. This allegedly started after new leadership took over the hospital's Department of Medicine. The NDP's immigration critic pressed Saskatchewan's health minister on the issue at the legislature today.
We need doctors, we need nurses, we need a lot of skillful people. Without that, we can run our communities and we can do way better. So we need them, and we have to make sure we emphasize on government to investigate this kind of things seriously, because if people are not happy, they will be not staying with us.
Let me begin by saying there is absolutely no room for racism in healthcare or frankly anywhere in Saskatchewan, Mr. Speaker. We take these concerns very, very seriously. As the member opposite has noted, there has been a complaint filed with the Human Rights Commission. Mr. Speaker, I have had discussions with our senior leadership, both at the SHA and with the Ministry of Health, about this particular concern.
The health minister says the Saskatchewan Health Authority has launched a third-party investigation into the issue. He says our province appreciates the healthcare workers who have come from around the world to work here. It might soon be free to take the city bus in Saskatoon, if you're a kid, that is. This week, Saskatoon City Council will be discussing making public transit free for riders aged 13 and under. It currently costs these kids $2.25 to hop on a bus in Saskatoon, and they bring in about $200,000 a year for the city. But if Regina is any indication, this might not be a money-losing proposal. Regina made rides for kids 13 and under free last year. It says lost revenue has been made up from more adults taking the bus with their children. And we're seeing a bit of snow, a bit of ice, and even a bit of green grass. It seems Saskatchewan is deciding what season it wants to align with. Will this week feel more like fall or like winter? Ethan Williams joins us with his weather forecast after the break. Underground carbon injection. It's one of the technological solutions aimed at reducing greenhouse gases. On the flip side, scientists are monitoring the risk of earthquakes from doing it. The CBC's Julia Wong reports.
At this coal-fired power plant, carbon dioxide is captured, compressed, then piped out to this injection well, where it's shot more than 3 kilometers underground.
Right underneath where we're standing is where CO2 is being stored.
Yeah, that's correct, although it's way underneath there.
Time-lapse photos show the liquefied gas spreading out through the rock. It's constantly monitored for one big unknown.
Obviously, we do not want to cause any man-made earthquakes to happen.
This is our real-time earthquake monitoring.
That's what this BC researcher is studying, tracking storage sites in Western Canada.
What kind of injection scenarios of carbon storage may actually increase the seismic risk?
Cao says the risk will be higher in places near tectonic plate boundaries. His work on fracking-induced earthquakes propelled this research.
When you do large-scale fluid injection into subsurface formations, the stress perturbation caused by all these injected fluids can be enormous.
So far, there's been no major carbon injection-induced activity in Canada, but Cao says it's important for climate policymakers to know if it could happen.
Fighting climate change is important, and by doing so, what kind of price do you want to pay? And can you accept this kind of risk?
Nickel doubts CO2 injections could cause earthquakes, but he understands why the research needs to happen now.
I think before it rolls out, understanding the stress fields and the factors that lead to seismic activity would be important.
Researchers say their focus is to use the findings to reduce or eliminate the risk of earthquakes, to ensure a technology Canada is betting big on to reduce its carbon footprint remains a safe and stable option. Julia Wong, CBC News, Estevan, Saskatchewan.
This weather update is brought to you by Titan Automotive, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
Weather specialist Ethan Williams joins us now. And I have to say, Ethan, when I left the house this morning, I felt a bit disoriented, actually. It didn't quite feel like November in Saskatchewan.
No, it has a bit of a kind of BC West Coast spring-ish vibe to it today. Yeah, it doesn't really feel like it's normally supposed to feel, but November, then again, is kind of a weird month at times. And we are continuing to see that fog through the province even right now. Less than half a kilometer of visibility in both Lloydminster and Kindersley. Fog advisories still in effect there and stretching into Alberta as well. And even through the night tonight and into tomorrow, I think there's a good chance that visibility will be reduced again through a lot of south and central, especially in that western part of the province near the Alberta border. Even into tomorrow through the day, a bit of fog, and our next weather system going to be posing some travel troubles out there. So highway hotline going to be a good thing to check. Should say that with temperatures near freezing, it's going to be really difficult to discern whether things are rain or snow. But right now it looks like for us, primarily rain with this next system, which starts around midnight tonight in southwestern Saskatchewan with a bit of rain. This model is showing snow, but I think for a lot of us, it's going to be primarily rain mixed with snow, especially in southern Saskatchewan as we head through the day tomorrow. Then it changes over to snow through the Parkland region as we head through tomorrow afternoon. Get a bit of a break in extreme southern Saskatchewan before the next round starts moving in tomorrow night and into Wednesday morning. And I think this is the better chance of some snowfall here through particularly southern Saskatchewan, but stretching all the way up back into the Churchill region potentially before we start seeing some clearing as we head into Thursday and Friday. But it'll take a while to get there. Again, with these numbers you're seeing here, don't take these to the bank necessarily because this is all just basically an estimate. But I think if we see any snow, heaviest amounts kind of in the Parkland region, Yorkton, Kamsack, Kenora, maybe 5 to 10 centimeters there. Rainfall going to be particularly hard to discern here. And of course, freezing rain definitely going to be a possibility over these next couple of days, but not ruling out a good 5 to 10 millimeters in the south of the province, including in Regina. Saskatoon and central Saskatchewan, I think less of a chance of moisture for you folks. And it will be a bit breezy at times, including overnight tonight and as we head through the day tomorrow. Some gusts potentially in the 40 to 50 range, and even into Wednesday, some gusts over 50 are possible. So with all that being said, temperatures somewhere between freezing and 5 degrees tomorrow for Regina. Snow, but primarily rain with amounts up to 5 millimeters, and then possibly a little bit of snow Wednesday. Clearing and some warmer temperatures coming as we head into the weekend, but not before likely another cloudy day on Thursday. Those overnight lows taking quite a drop then as well on the other side of this system, but then some nice warm temperatures returning as we head into the beginning of next week. For Saskatoon, again, I think for you folks, we're mostly just looking at a chance of either rain or snow tomorrow with a high around 2 degrees. Temperatures dropping a bit into the weekend as well, but a little bit of some sunshine and some warmer temperatures. So bit of the yucky stuff over the next couple of days here, Natasha, but some really nice weather upcoming.
Yeah, Talk about some ups and downs there, Ethan. Thank you.
You bet.
With cloudy skies across the province, as Ethan just told us, it's not seeming likely it'll be a good night to spot northern lights in Saskatchewan. Thankfully, we have our neighbors to enjoy. This stunning photo was taken just north of Calgary and was sent to us by Alberta photographer Matt Melnick. We'll be back after the break.
When it comes to your news, you want up-to-the-minute access. Anytime, anywhere. Get the facts straight from the source. Download the free CBC News app or visit cbcnews.ca for news you can trust.
Welcome back. Some Regina business owners say they were burned by a Winnipeg pizza franchise. They say Fast Fired by Carbone was sold to them as a profitable brand, but that's not how it turned out for them. Now they're warning others about buying into the franchise. The I-Team's Carolyn Bargut has that story.
Tejas Patel and Swampnil Shaw have never shied away from hard work.
I spent everything what I earned till now. It was my sweat and blood.
2 years ago, they decided to open a franchise and were sold on a concept that came out of Winnipeg. It was called Fast Fired by Carbone, a build-your-own pizza restaurant.
I'm Benjamin Nasberg, President and CEO of the Carbone Restaurant Group. Thank you for taking the time and exploring our franchise opportunities.
Fast Fired already had franchises in Manitoba. Patel and Shaw were told they were doing well and believed if they opened a store in Regina, it would be an instant success. Patel and Shaw say Fast Fired has been a disaster since day one. First, construction delays meant they were paying rent months before the doors to their store even opened, leaving them approximately $30,000 in debt before they sold their first pizza. As for the sales projections, last year they barely brought in $150,000, less than a third of the business they were made to believe they could do.
I actually feel that this business dropped me back 5 years of my life because I invested so much, I lost so much, so now I have to start over all again.
They're close to $300,000 in debt and can no longer afford to keep the doors open. The restaurant will close by the end of the month. They blame Carbone Restaurant Group and its owner, Benjamin Nasberg, for the store's demise, saying the company has done nothing to promote the franchise. Fast Fired by Carbone started in Manitoba in 2018. At its height, there were 4 restaurants in this province, 3 of which have since closed. There were 3 stores in Saskatchewan. 1 closed after a fire. Shaw and Patel are closing their restaurant by the end of the month. So by the end of the year, only 1 will remain. Recently, franchises have popped up in Ontario and Alberta.
When you get home, this is what you got. Well, where did I come from? There's no branding. Not good.
Larry Shaborak closed his Winnipeg Fast Fired restaurant in March, less than a year after taking over the business and some of the store's outstanding debts.
All the toppings.
Shaborak has had several successful businesses and thought he can revive the shuttered franchise. But despite his best efforts, the restaurant was a failure.
When you buy a franchise, it's supposed to be a proven system. Well, they're selling franchises and they've never proved it. It's never been proven.
Full interior.
Darren Darville runs a successful car detailing business in Brandon. In April 2022, he decided to take over a Fast Fired franchise after the previous owner gave up. He says at first it was doing really well because of word of mouth, but that didn't last long.
We're up against all these pizza stores, and they're all doing weekly handout flyers. They're doing social media marketing. They're doing all this marketing.
He says the only advertisement he's ever seen from Fast Fired was looking for franchisees. Darville walked away from the business after just 6 months. Nasberg says his company has done print media campaigns, radio ads, and local community outreach to advertise new locations. A review of Fast Fired's Facebook ads shows the only ones currently running are to sell franchise opportunities.
We're going to use it for marketing.
Natalia Stewart is Carbone's former marketing manager. She was hired in October 2021 in BC. Shortly after, she started reaching out to franchise owners.
They were upset because they didn't have any support. They didn't have anyone to call. They didn't have any marketing material. They didn't have any way to increase their revenue. They were struggling.
Eventually, there wasn't even money to pay employees. By January 2022, Nasberg held a meeting and told staff he would need to defer salaries for 6 weeks.
12 lawsuits have been filed against Nasberg in Manitoba. 3 involve fast-fired locations, while most of the others relate to a number of failed dine-in pizza restaurants he used to own. 7 of the lawsuits against Nasberg, his companies, and his business partners have been settled, resulting in judgments totaling nearly $1 million.
Victor Akenayemi, Hardeep Khatri, and Edgar Xavier put down thousands in deposits for a fast-fired franchise. Their restaurants never materialized, and they say Carbone was supposed to refund their money, but didn't. Akenayemi paid a $20,000 deposit for an existing fast-fired that was mired in debt. He says Nasberg wanted him to buy the franchise, but his bank refused to lend him the money to cover the former owner's debts. He's been trying to get a refund for over a year.
I said, please, refund my money. We are no longer interested in this deal.
Hardeep Khatri hired a lawyer to get back his $20,000 deposit that he put down in 2021.
It just so heartbreaking that this was the first business I was trying to open up in Canada, and this is what happened. And it's been like for over 2 years now. We paid them $20,000 and nothing is coming up.
Edgar Xavier put down a $5,000 deposit in the summer of 2021 to open a store in London, Ontario. It never happened, but still, he didn't get his money back.
Well, it's a big impact because, I have a family to take care of. I've got 2 kids to take care of. I can't just, have 5,000 just, go in thin air like that. I mean, it's big money.
All right.
Earlier this year, Nasberg was recognized at the Business Elite Awards as an exceptional entrepreneur under the age of 40. Nasberg wouldn't do an interview, but sent a lengthy email response to our questions. Regarding the criticism of franchisees, Nasberg says, in response to the feedback, we have taken steps to strengthen our support structures. This includes expanding our team, investing in training and development, implementing more efficient systems for supply chain management, and ramping up our marketing efforts to help drive customer traffic to our franchises. He wouldn't answer questions about the money former employees and potential investors say he owes them. In response, Nasberg said there are proper channels to deal with this. He claims Fast Fired is a successful brand and says so far in 2023, the Carbone Restaurant Group opened 4 new locations. It's too little too late for Tejas Patel and Swapnil Shah. Once they close their store, they'll have to declare bankruptcy. They hope by sharing their story, they can save another person from getting burned by Fast Fired. Caroline Bargout, CBC News, Winnipeg.
And Ethan is back with another look at our topsy-turvy forecast.
Yeah, and it's really going to be topsy-turvy over this next 24 hours, Natasha. Foggy tonight in Regina and cloudy as well, just above the freezing mark, and we'll be at the freezing mark by tomorrow morning, seeing either rain or snow, and winds starting to pick up a bit. The freezing rain likely by the time we hit the noon hour, and Regina kind of in southeastern Saskatchewan. I think that's our best chance, or our best area of the province that's going to be seeing that freezing rain. For Saskatoon, though, most of the moisture going to be avoiding you folks for the most part, but it will still be cloudy tomorrow. A little bit breezy at times, especially as we head into the afternoon. Maybe a bit of rain or snow in the afternoon, but not much accumulation expected there. Cloudy skies, so definitely a messy one tomorrow, and you're going to want to check that highway hotline before you head out, Natasha.
Good advice. Thank you, Ethan.
You bet.
Well, that's it for us tonight. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/sask, or you can subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Ethan and I will be back with more local news at 11. Thanks for watching, and have a great night.